Excellent. All right, this is the January 16th meeting of the Westboro Conservation Commission. We'll begin by saluting the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bless you.
Bless you. Thank you. Any discussion, Chris?
Yeah, we can take up a quick thing, Mr. Chairman.
Or do you want to try to get folks out of here? Can we do the discussion later?
Let me do the discussion quickly now. I have a request for an emergency certification form, which we're going to discuss a little more further in the meeting. But this is just a quick one. This is for Richmond Pond outfall, which is located down off of Howland Road. The actual pond is flooded to the point where Richmond Pond Lane is not accessible, and there are numerous houses up Richmond Pond Lane that are having difficulty getting oil deliveries, propane deliveries, etc. This is the second series of efforts. We did go down there in an effort in the fourth storm. We opened it, it subsided, and then the second storm came right in and did it all over again, to the point where now it's flooded even to a much higher extent. So the town of Westport will be the operator on this certification. The public safety issue that we're addressing here is obviously the flooded roadway and access to current homes in case of fire, emergency purposes. So the deposited cobble and sand will be removed from that outfall and will be immediately stacked on the side of it and allow the pond to gully wash open and flush out. I know Phil had a few phone calls from the prior event, and I've had a few calls from angry people not being able to get to their dwelling. So this is an effort on the town's part, which again, this is kind of a private issue, but we're trying to alleviate those public safety issues and help. So I request that the commission sign this emergency certification for 30 days, starting tomorrow, to remove that plugged up sediment in the outfall of Richmond Pond.
Is that a public lane or a private lane?
Richmond Pond is private property that I get permission from the landowner to access, that owns the Atlantic West Beach Club.
Yes.
Okay.
So Richmond Pond normally just flows out over the beach, and that's just built up high.
Yes, this sediment
So it
came
doesn't
to the
do
point where it
yeah.
plugged it right up into the pond
Yeah.
and made a significant berm, not berm, it
Yeah.
just
Yep.
made it that there is no, the grade elevation is same, so it can't really come out at all. It's actually,
Yeah,
it's pretty flooded.
It usually comes out in moon tides only, right?
Correct.
That's when it usually drains.
It
on the
doesn't
higher
flow
tides.
all the time,
Right.
but in this
In the higher
situation, with the
tides,
amount
it
of
flows,
rainfall in,
yeah.
you're not getting it going out.
Yeah.
It again, the bathhouses are underwater in the parking lot, so.
Still?
Coming from the pond side of things. Okay, so I'd ask that the
Yeah.
commission make a motion
All right, if
to,
there are no other comments or questions, looking for a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right, you got that, Chris? It's
Yep.
Kevin and Jake. Those in favor?
Right.
Opposed? All right.
I would go right to the septic, Christian Semin, and I will take care of it for Mr. Potter. I don't believe he is recalling the meeting, and he may walk in late, that's okay.
All right, Christian Semines, 1274 Drift Road, RDA filing.
Mr. Chairman, on behalf of Len Potter, to just move the situation through, this is a request of determination of applicability. Report date is January 4th, 2024. This is a Board of Health approved project. Site visit was also on January 4th, 2024. The work description, the owner has filed to upgrade the sewage disposal system to a newer system with a denitrification component. The work is proposed on the property within the riverfront area only. The system will be abandoned and a new system designed to be constructed 155 feet from the edge of mean high water. The system repair is allowed as an exemption under the regulations 10.586C. as a minor exempt activity. So I therefore request a recommendation to Westport Conservation Commission should issue a negative box 2 determination for the sewage system upgrade at 1274 Drift Road. Just quickly, Mr. Chairman, this is the Westport River right here. This is a old family gazebo that they have down in the lawn area. The lawn slopes down to the Westport River. This being the extent of the riverfront would be right about here. This being the house, so that septic system installation is within that outer area of the riverfront area, actually above the flood elevation of this velocity zone elevation. And that would be replacing a system that is a little further closer to the river than what this is being proposed as. So again, this is existing bedroom capacity, nothing's changed. Maintaining bedroom capacity as approved by the Board of Health. So I would suggest a negative box 2 determination.
All right, any questions or comments?
Motion approved with a negative box 2 determination.
Second.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Chris, I didn't see a folder on that. Do we have a folder for it?
Yeah, so good.
Wait till Paul finds out about that.
Sean might be a little late, so we're gonna take the next one in line, which is, did you already send it down?
The emergency action?
No.
No,
Okay.
should be another order here. I want the Wicks, where's your, would you shuffle everything around?
I did.
I did. Thank you. Thank you for being honest. So we're gonna take this one next, which is the MGJC Holdings.
MJC Holdings, okay. All right, MJC Holdings, 46 Milk Ave, notice of intent. We made an offer on that house.
Yeah,
That was that a repossession, foreclosure?
I don't know.
Going back.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife had made an offer on that. So-
Green cards have been provided, Mr. Chairman.
Great, okay.
Will Connolly, Zenith Consulting Engineers. The site is 46 Milk Ave. There's an existing 2-bedroom house with a failed septic on site. There's a wetland just off site to the north, which is shown wetland flags 1 through 3. We're proposing a 1,500 gallon microfast tank, a 1,000 gallon pump chamber, and an 11 by 32 pipe and stone leaching field. There will be a retaining wall wrapping around the leaching field. We basically had to push everything as far to the rear of the property as we could to get outside the 100-foot buffer from the well. So the system's about 17 and a half feet from the wetland. We're proposing a dewatering basin location as well as silt sock, which will wrap around the limit of work. That'll remain in place until it's stabilized.
Listen.
Thank you.
So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Mr. Chairman, members, MJC Holdings, 46 Milk Ave. This is a notice of intent application filed by Zenith Engineering. The date of the report is January 5th, 2024. The file number for this project with no adverse comments is SE 802713. This is a Board of Health approved project. Site visit was also on January 5th, 2024. Description of the work: the owner has filed to repair a failed septic system. The old system will be pumped and removed. The new leaching field will be constructed 17 and a half feet from the edge of the wetlands. This is because of the pushing away from the well, as the proponent has discussed. The raised system will be require 40 mil liner and retaining block wall to contain. The lot has limited area to locate the leaching field per Title V. The work will be contained within the placement of the erosion control staked along the property line as shown on plan. So this is a limited small lot, north end of town, confined to the requirements of that setback from the wells, pushing it closer to this resource area. It's not the first time we have seen this. So recommendations, Westport Conservation Commission should approve this project with standard conditions for the sewage system upgrade at 46 Milk Ave. That is file number SE 802713.
All right, any questions?
All right.
Any more discussion? If not, looking for a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second, oh, go ahead, Bert.
I second
Jake and Bert?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
it. All right.
Opposed? All right, unanimous.
Thanks, bud.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Have a
night.
good one.
Drive careful, bud. It's getting nice.
Yeah.
We voted no, you're all set.
Yeah, you failed.
Yeah.
You got your
We'll
trail.
start at 7.
No, we postponed you, Sean. You're next. Hold on.
Getting nasty out there, it's hard to breathe, just so everybody knows.
Thanks. We already have gray hair. I'm gonna go home sideways following Jake
Good luck with that.
with his black smoke.
No, no diesel. It's too cold. Salted. Diesel's away.
Mr. Chairman, if you wanna name the
Yep,
hearing.
Eleanor Wicks, 374 River Road, notice of intent. Thank you.
Green cards provided. Thank you, Sean.
Good evening, Sean Leach, Northeast Engineers, representing Eleanor William Wicks, 374 River Road. This is two existing licensed structures that have been licensed some time. What they're looking for basically is repair. This is actually, we started this before the storms. I don't know what it looks like now, but I can only imagine. What happens is, essentially, if you look at this, this is a view from the steps going across. The seawall and the revetment that they had previously were basically field stones, which were not adequate for obviously wave action and that type of thing. So what they'd like to do is neaten that up, pull it back a little bit, and protect the lawn. You can see the erosion on the lawn. I imagine it's worse now than the last two storms than it has been. And basically, just raise the existing solid fill jetty dock, which has sunk in the middle to a point, so it would decrease the ramp that goes out. They're not proposing any work on the existing pier piles. This is in pretty good shape, but this ramp would be raised up a little bit. And then raising this up to an elevation of 4.2, which is just slightly above the elevation 3. It's 1.2 feet above 3, which is mean high water. The problem now is at high water, you can see seaweed that collects on top here. At high water, basically it's underwater. So they like to be able to continue to use the dock by walking at all times. So I think it's a pretty straightforward project and shouldn't be any issues.
Sean, did you get your Division of Marine Fisheries comments yet?
Did not get the marine fisheries. I emailed them again. I got the CC on the email.
That's all right.
I don't think they sent anything because it's an existing license and not a new license.
Well,
All the work will be above the mean low water. Most of this will be neatened up. Basically, mean high water is up to pretty much halfway up the wall here. It'll be neatened up, and it'll be done obviously at low tide.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Chairman and members, Eleanor Wicks, 374 River Road. This is a notice of intent application filed by Northeast Engineers and Consultants. Sean Leach is representing. The report date is January 4th, 2024. We do have a file number. It's SE 802714. Agency is still waiting for comments, would be the Mass Division of Marine Fisheries. Detailed description of the work. The owner has filed a notice of intent to perform maintenance to a licensed waterway solid-filled jetty and revetment along the shore of the west branch of the Westport River. The structure has a license number 4891, interim approval for these existing structures. The owner is applying to repair sinkholes along the revetment and repair stone within the solid-filled jetty and raise the surface of the jetty within the approved footprint. So there's no expansion of the jetty, it's raising it within the licensed footprint. The activity has been flagged by Mass DEP, requesting an alternative analysis and DMF comments. I did discuss this with DEP, and I was correct in my determination. The activity falls under the minor exemption of work in a riverfront area, 10.586 in parentheses and I in parentheses. The state actually verified that with me, and they rescinded that comment. So the work proposed should have additional details. Sean kind of surmised these on the amount of fill that would be used to raise the jetty. He said a minimally to that elevation 4.2. No mention of finished grade. Sean just again reiterated that with that 4.2 elevation, which is slightly above the mean high water annual height. The Mass DMF comments are pending, but again, as I mentioned and Sean did, this is not an expansion. This is only maintenance of a structure, so I will wait a few days. If I don't hear any comments, I will move forward with the submittal of the order of conditions if it is approved. This again is impacting the resource areas of riverfront and land subject to flooding. Not so much land containing shellfish because of it is being above that mean high water jurisdiction. So recommendations, the Westport Conservation Commission should approve the proposed project to repair and to maintain the licensed structure pending Mass DMF comments, and this is for file number SC 802714. Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
It's good to me.
All right, if not, move for a motion?
Motion approved.
Second?
Me,
Phil?
me.
Thank you.
So it's approved pending
Yes.
division.
Yeah,
of
I don't
administration.
think it's
Great.
I sent it 3 weeks ago to them,
It's all right. There's been two storm events. Where you been?
and I don't know, and the gentleman, they contacted me the next day, and said, when's the hearing? And I mentioned originally it was the last hearing, and they didn't comment, and 2 weeks later, here we are. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll just put it pending. I'm not gonna hold it to you, Sean.
I
I
mean,
think-
I don't know if they're, like I said, I don't know if they're going to say anything, because it's an existing licensed structure. I think he thought it was a new structure.
Maybe, and that's why I'm trying to reiterate to the board that it's within the footprint, so.
I just wouldn't want to see us approve it, and then they have an issue, and then they appeal it, and then, you know what I mean?
No,
Like,
that's
just
correct.
Clarify that.
So we got a full vote, you didn't finalize the vote?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you for attending.
It was tricky getting here.
Just make
All
sure you
right.
use it- make sure you use a good Google review.
Very tricky.
Just make sure you drive,
Okay.
make sure you drive that vehicle that you got from your company, not your own.
Yeah, but a small pickup truck with nothing in the back doesn't have a lot of.
Oh, not good.
Yeah.
You gotta do like your sled dog, you have that thing you throw out the window and it grapples onto something.
All right,
Good day.
continuances are none.
Good night.
See you, Sean. Certificates of compliance. David Mendel, 926 Drift Road.
Correct, Mr. Chairman. David Mendel has requested a certificate of compliance for his property at 926 Drift Road. This engineer of record was Haru Engineering. The report date is January 5th, 2024. The file number requested of that certificate of compliance is SE 802643. The site visit was also on January 5th, 2024. The owner has filed with required engineering letter to request a certificate of compliance for the fixed pier, gangway, and float installed in the east branch of the river. The dock has been completed in accordance with the plan of record. Again, this meets the requirements of the Mass Chapter 91 license issuance as well. Resource areas to be impacted were land under the river and riverfront, but the activity has ceased to happen. Recommendations, the Westport Conservation Commission should grant a full release of the certificate of compliance for file number SE 802643.
Okay, any discussion? If not, a motion?
Move to grant the release with a full certificate of compliance.
I second it.
All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Next one we got.
Let's see, next one here was another certificate of compliance. Ed Flynn. Ed Flynn, 1332 Drift Road.
Correct, Mr. Chairman and members. This is with Edward Flynn. Mr. Flynn reconstructed a new home at 1332 Drift Road. He's requesting a certificate of compliance for file number SE 802592. The site visit and the report of dated January 5th, 2024. The applicant owner has filed the requested certificate of compliance for the completion of a single-family home grading on the east branch of the river. All work has completed according to the plan of record. If you don't recall, Mr. Flynn moved the house outside of the riverfront of where the previous house was in order to construct a new home, creating larger setbacks from that resource area. So a lot of the old house was within the jurisdiction, not so much the new structure except for that grading. Recommendations, the Westport Conservation Commission should issue a full certificate of compliance for file number SE 802592, Ed Flynn, 1332 Drift Road.
All right, any discussion? If not, a motion?
I move we issue a full certificate of compliance for file number SC 802592.
Second?
All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Extension for Kevin Daly. Kevin Daly, 82 East Beach Road.
Correct, Mr. Chairman. This is one of our lot owners on East Beach that has an active permit. Mr. Daly at 82 East Beach Road is requesting a 3-year extension for file number SE 801861. The owner has filed to extend the beach maintenance nourishment order of conditions that he has maintained on the property for quite some time. He's requesting an additional 3-year extension. Recommendations, the Westport Conservation Commission should issue a 3-year extension for 82 East Beach Road.
Is that on the ocean side?
This is an Oceanside one, yes.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
No discussion, I'm assuming? If not, a
Sorry.
motion?
Yeah.
We have protocol, we have processes. You can't skip the line.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Motion to approve, Chairman.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The rule breaker.
That concludes our hearings, Mr. Chairman. All we have is our bills, and then I have a little discussion we can have after you get those taken care of.
All right, we have a bill for WB Mason for $38.79.
Motion to pay.
Second?
That's Kevin and Phil.
Thank you.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Chris Capone, mileage, $393.65. Looking for a motion?
Motion to pay?
Second it.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the minutes from December 5th. Let me see, we had me, Phil, Bert,
We
Kevin.
just have to initial these.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's what I do.
Yeah, so we're good, right? You 4? Me, Phil, Bert, and Kevin. So
You
good.
can do,
Good.
you can vote on it.
Yep, okay.
Motion to approve.
Okay,
Second?
those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You just hand that down, they'll go in there. Okay, so that wraps it up.
Just put this-
Yeah, he just needs to put the
Chris,
bills in.
discussion?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. As we're all aware, we've had some property damage in these 2 recent storm events here in town, as well as elsewhere. It's become to my attention after me submitting an email, Mass DEP did not declare these 2 recent storms events as a severe weather emergency, as I anticipated, more likely the second storm because it had a name. They're considering this a localized event. Under that requirements, we have the rights to issue emergency certifications or notice of intent applications. So under a severe weather emergency, it would be carte blanche everyone would get an emergency. You wouldn't have to come to conservation, you wouldn't have to request anything. In this case, that's not what has transpired. The request for a certificate of emergency must be made in writing and submitted to the Westport Conservation Commission. This is defined in the regulations under 10.06. We're following the rules entirely within those regulations. Some of the bullet points I put in here are pulling from some other storm events that I got some DEP's input on some language that they had. So this is just something for you guys to review through quickly. I sent one to the chairman. I'm gonna need to send something to the landowners on East Beach as well as any other coastal property owners that have been affected. Again, this is not just East Beach that this entails. This entails Howland Road, Atlantic Ave, again, the areas of Westport Point and the head of Westport, as well as East Beach, West Beach, and any areas in between John Reed Road and the Gooseberry Causeway. So the emergency, in my opinion, is a quick, able to bring the property back to somewhat of compliance prior to the regulations. The emergency isn't meant to allow excavation and replacement of a tight tank. That is not something that is a public health and safety concern in the emergency setting. They would have the allowance to do that under a notice of intent. The downsides to an emergency certification, although it's quicker, it's only good for 30 days. And I want the landowners to be fully aware of that 30 days doesn't mean if there's a storm in April that would so allow them to do work again. So we do currently now have almost 75 to 80% compliance on our oceanfront lot owners of East Beach. This now is coming to play for the lots on the north side of East Beach, which was my plan of attack this year, was trying to get them to fully be in compliance. So this is just a surmising the process that they would need to go through. So I, as the agent, have the authority to issue the emergency and then ratify it at the commission's next available meeting. We have 24 hours supposedly to issue the emergency, which I think is a little quick, but I will try to get them out as quick as I can. This letter, again, is going to be circulated to all the East Beach lot owners through their web pages, or rather their web addresses. And subsequently, I will make this available to other departments and try to get this onto our actual town's website. So this is just kind of a sketch. I think there should be something about sheds maybe in here, and as I spoke to the chairman, truthfully, we have to be very specific. And I want it to be specific in that I'm not trying to be restrictive to people, but you know, the sand material, we have to have a sample, you know, so we got to try to coordinate. If 3, 4, 5, 10 lot owners all want to join in the same, I mean, I'd be willing to allow them to have one machine do the work. But if anybody's been to East Beach, there's really good aerial photographs from a drone I sent you guys. Kind of gives you an idea where the accumulation and some erosion factors happen. We're seeing, to me, the southwesterly side of East Beach seemed to get more than the far east end did, but the middle section is a section of East Beach that seems to sustain. Either it has elevation enough, so we actually had some accretion of land on the north side, like in Dwight Sylvia's area. Dwight gained maybe, I'd say in some areas, 15 to 14 inches of sediment and material, and then others where the water washed through into the they lost land. So this is truly, both sides of the road were affected by this, and some to the point where hopefully the high tide line readjusts itself. We've had such high tides that you really can't dictate where that main high water is right now. So we try to maintain people 10 feet away from mean high water as best as we can. And so that's what's really important for the way the face of this beach is going to shape up to where that may lie. Lastly, the town had a big meeting with the proponents of East Beach, and discussed what they were looking for. They talked about the utilities maybe going underground. And there's been some real adamant about the landowners in this section concerned about the theft or the removal of cobble by the town, in the way that they used it, and it should have went on their lots. There's case law in place about this, and again, I don't want to get into the legal ramifications, but the town is working with these landowners to try to get what is needed to restore the lots. The emergency order is one step in the process. The final process is a notice of intent. The notice of intent is the process that is a little more lengthier, but I have a sample on our website. It says everything, right down to the filing fees. So we're not looking for a plan for, say, with this NOI filing, unless they are going to the replacement of their tight tank or their on-site sewage disposal system. That's where they're gonna need a set of required engineered drawn plans, which the Board of Health would read, etc. So, in a nutshell, please look this over. If you have any bullet point comments, I just like to add them. I know Paul's gonna try to get it a little tighter so we can be very clear on what is and what isn't allowed. The Board of Health, on another aspect, is decided to waive the fees for some of these projects that may come before them. We can't waive the state fees, so I am waiving our fee that we charge in addition to, okay? Because the state fees and an NOI are rather written in stone, and we can't really waive those. So emergency, I think, will become good for some people. In this case, just an example, Mrs. Featherson, she has a structure at Grove Street. She's received significant damage to the point where her house is in serious jeopardy. So I'm going to be working with her this week to try to get her an emergency certification under these guidelines. So expressively, I want people to know we're trying to work with them. This isn't the first storm we've dealt with. This area is battered through 5 major events, and some now we're seeing not major events, but simultaneously hit us at the right tide, and really this most recent one was just as destructive as the one in December, if not more destructive in some cases. So we need to be more resilient. We need to look at sheds. Are we going to allow sheds? The board has been very adamant that the shed should be movable, and I think we should now, if you take to those drone footage and see before and after, there's not many sheds remaining on that ocean side. So I think this is really, even Mr. Sylvia, Dwight Sylvia, that came in to put his on a structure, the structure he had put in place was actually washed away. So this is definitely something we need to move in a direction to guide all the people as quickly as we can to get them to be utilizing, obviously not at this time, but utilizing the property so that they feel that they can gain access if needed. Lastly, some of these lots have 3 foot or 4 foot of material right off the road. So there is material existing on some of these lots just to push that back towards the tide line and gain some of that. Not necessarily do I really encourage that, but in this case, the source of a cobble material that would be beneficial is why these landowners were concerned, because that cobble material is a much more stable material than the sand. So what is always described of in the beach nourishment is sand and or compatible grain size material. So I'm not saying that all them, they have to use a sand type product that is compatible, yes. Can we find maybe something? I'm not sure we can, but I'm hoping that we can guide them the best possible way to replenish these to the point where they're able to hopefully utilize them in the best way possible. So I'll allow you guys to, if you have any questions immediately.
So yeah, I mean, it's probably a good time to remind folks that if there was an unpermitted structure on a lot, that they can't just replace it, right? speak.
Well, that's come to the building inspector already, and he's immediately sent it to me. So a few people are like, I have a shed, it doesn't need a building permit, can I put it up? And they're like, well, no. Talk to conservation,
Yeah.
so, and lastly, some of these sheds, not all people keep the, the gas and stuff or whatever they may, or propane. I didn't see actually no propane canisters floating around. I saw more lawn chairs and picnic tables and such along those lines. And decking components that were, destroyed during that surge, so. Does anybody have any comments offhand, or Phil?
Well, it was only because it relates to the cobble issue, and I guess it was not through anything you said, but my impression about the discussion with the landowners about their returning, being able to replace the cobble that was, transported in the storm and then further transported by the highway department in terms of clearing the road, that in the regrading that they could use that material. But what I understand you're saying is that it's only sand that can be replaced.
No,
No.
they
Okay.
no, they
I'm
can
saying-
absolutely use
Yeah,
this material. If the town on this second storm
Okay.
has piled it up
Yeah.
in the roadway.
Yeah.
So I think I would like to call this
Yeah.
more than just sand.
Yeah, I think
that's
so,
why
yeah.
I pointed
Yeah.
that out.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm going to
Yep.
try to call it sand cobble
Cobble.
mix.
Right. Good job.
Actually,
Right.
in CZM's regs, they
That's-
call it beach fill.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so
That's
I
what
wanted
it raised
that
my
is
Yes,
one
sir.
thing, right?
That's a,
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I wanted to
second
call
that.
it sand
Yeah.
cobble mix. I don't
Yeah.
want to, right, I'm not
Good.
looking.
Okay.
Now, somewhat of what else was said at that meeting with the selectmen was of a dredging project. The dredging project has been granted for removal of sand in the channel. From what I am told, that material is going to be dumped out by a barge in the ocean. And that is because of the federal grant being administered in that way. It wasn't administered to pump and dredge the material to a certain location. That changes the whole contract. So I don't think that material is going to be available, which.
it'll be available, it's gonna come back.
It'll be available in about 5 years.
So I only know that because DCR tried to inquire through the legislation, and Mike Rodrigues and Senator Schmid to try to inquire if they could maybe sway that. So I'm not sure if that is going to be a viable option. So we need to look at long-term, and there are materials that have been previously tested, but we can't allow boulders or those types of things, because that is not necessarily, and we're not allowing revetments to be constructed. We're not allowing, and if anybody's walked the beach, you can see that I have seen that some individuals, of not being naming anyone, because you really can't say, but I did see some foreign objects on the beach that I saw riprap, I saw some boulders. So I think over time, people have been trying to implement measures to, harden the scape so it doesn't be volatile. And the last thing I want to state is this is the natural process of a barrier beach, what's occurring. This is the natural process. Barrier beach moves inland, and it acts as a buffer. So exactly what it did is what it's supposed to do. In this case, we inhabit a section of this area, and that's where we kind of manipulate it to not allow it to do its natural thing. So what comes of the road, what comes of the utilities is all something that town is strongly going to need to start looking at for long-term climate resiliency. And we are definitely seeing impacts of that with these not so, well, this was a major event by wind, but not of hurricane proportions.
Are they gonna survey the road so that
That is,
property lines?
from what Sean has spoken to me, and through that meeting, again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Jason, yes, there is going to be a staking out of the road
Okay.
area, and that's coming into serious play on some people's properties,
Oh, boy.
as well as
Oh, boy.
others further towards West Beach. There are a few there that they're, I think, more in the road layout than actually on what was their property. So that, how that irons out is all at a later date. So generally look at this quickly. I'd like to get this out maybe not tomorrow, but hopefully Thursday if we could. And again, I'm getting numerous calls just from the lot owners because of that selectmen meeting and them slowly finding out that emergency status was not granted.
Nothing else to do on that? That decision's been made, that there's nothing with Rodericks or Schmidt that can be done?
As far as the dredging materials,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure on that. You know, federal grants and stuff, or however this money was funded, it's a total different
So
process.
it just wasn't specific? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, this is not what the people want. They want the cobble, but, you know, we're looking at a way to try to work with everybody to get something there. So the cobble isn't all gone. Like I said, these people have windrows of material that can be replenished. To the extent of where their tight tanks are now is I can't really say at this time. I know we've all seen the pictures. There are some areas that have been really removed to the excess of 15 feet, if not more. And that is where some of their Title V tight tanks were located.
Yep.
And the Board of Health will be working with them on that aspect, so.
Just to say on that point that, Matt, the health director, is sending a letter out to all the property owners requiring them to have an inspection of their tight tank by a certified inspector, and then, you know, based on, in the event that they have to do a significant repair or replacement, you know, then they'd have to file with us, and that's what Chris was referring to in terms of waiving the fees on that.
Okay.
And also there, I guess, are still some there who have a septic tank and a leach field, or something equivalent to that, and they're also going through the same process. So, yeah, so, and then we'll have to sign off on those before they're issued a permit. I just had a question. So in the normal course of things, when people are doing, or maybe just for this purpose, are you gonna get a chance to like look at the composition of the material before it gets put down? So that's, okay, so that's good.
Yeah, I specify that here and
Yeah, good,
highlight it
okay.
to be
In general, it's already
provided
there,
and approved by the
right?
conservation.
Okay,
All the material's
okay, so
there.
that's good. Because
What's
then I
that?
think you
All
have
the
to do less
material is
work.
there, essentially.
For the most part, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
What people are really concerned about is the exposed tanks that are where the material is lost. And as I said to you in the beginning of my discussion, I don't know what the face of that beach is gonna come to allow with that mean high water. I felt it got scraped so much that the water very easily now is rolling right over it. So
Oh, yeah.
we are entitled to allow them to do work not within mean high water. That would require Chapter 91 waterways licensing. And we don't want to get into that avenue of things. And obviously, at this time, we're trying to restore these lots to the best ability for them to get use in respect to
And this is all local funds, because we didn't qualify for anything. This is all to be done with local town workers, for the most part, on this. And how many events are we away from things changing? If this is, how many storms is this? 3 in the last couple months? We get to April and
3 within
we get
3
another wipeout of an entire...
We do usually have a season in April where we get a good blow. That it usually comes up pretty high.
So that was my question. If there was a named storm, it immediately would kick in the emergency certification, or no?
No, I don't know. That's why I thought this one, Finn, the second one had a name. I thought that would automatically.
Yeah.
Yeah, they called it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they called it Winter Storm Finn.
So so they make the determination even if it
The
was,
commissioner of the Mass DEP makes those final rulings on the severe weather declaration.
and how do they, you don't know how they determine that?
I think it has to be more statewide than just localized,
Yeah.
even though
The-
the coastal regime
Everywhere from
of
Plymouth to the,
basically, I don't know how the North Shore did because it was a south flow.
South, yeah.
Right.
So I would
Wasn't
say
as-
from us to
Yeah.
Provincetown or Nauset, I would say had some significant
So in that situation, they're given a 30-day to complete the work on an emergency certification, but let's assume in the environment we're in, we're not gonna determine where that mean high water is because it's winter and those storm, and it's gonna stay high. So if they only have 30 days to do that, how do you determine?
I would
where
recommend
that's-
that they kind of wait. I'm not saying for them to do it right now.
Okay.
I think they should be waiting.
But wouldn't they have to comply if they gave them emergency certification on the 30 days, once we issue it? Right, it says, all work under emergency certification shall be completed within 30 days of issue.
Correct.
So you issue that, say, whatever, next week.
They have 30 days within that time frame to do the work.
Can we delay it? Can
We
Yeah.
could maybe
delay it to
add-
March?
We maybe can add, if the commission wants to add 45 days, that
I just think
that's
that's a prob-
something we could consider.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's.
Again, I'm governing what exactly it says
Yeah.
in the wetlands
Yeah,
regulations.
I don't know that we would have that ability.
And I don't know if we
Okay,
have the
okay.
authority to waive it, except maybe we would grant them a 15-day extension. We
I
could
just
do
have a hard
that.
time having doing emergency work, having them get all this heavy
And then
equipment
it-
in there, and then have a nor'easter in March
One
and
storm.
April,
One
which
storm,
is-
we're
which is
back to
right
normal,
back
yeah.
to where you're at.
Which is likely. That's
Yeah.
likely.
Which is likely.
We're right back to
What-
square one again, doing it again.
I mean, technically, I guess nor'easters don't
China.
impact East Beach as much because it's blowing northeast.
You are
not
correct,
southeast,
and we
but yeah.
more are susceptible to
To
the
that southeast,
southeast,
yeah.
this direct.
Southeast is no good here.
And again, if
But then
anyone.
if you go on the other side on Horse Neck and Cherry Webb, the nor'easters strip the beach completely.
Correct.
So
So
it's,
it's going to affect somewhere in the
Right.
community, one way or the other.
Yeah.
But if it took 60 knots to do the damage that's been done because of the change in grade,
Now you
a 35 knot southeast wind can do
Bring that
a
right
lot of
down,
damage,
yeah.
because, I mean, it's
Right.
much more vulnerable now.
Right, right. Well, the reason we saw so much influx of water with the rain and the tidal push, that's where you have that surge of water in the bay. That's why you saw no salt marshes for 3-4 days, is because that water was trying to come in
Yeah.
and it was trying to get out. And when they push together, that's where you get the incidents of that in river flooding, which we saw a lot of as well. And I saw pictures of Drift Road docks during that first storm, and I could not believe the volatile effects of some of those piers. Julius Way, all the way south, they were dancing in that weather where it was, a lot of them were battered. So that's why I added coastal engineering structures in here too. I want people not to be, thinking that that's not something they can't. To a point, if most filings are mean high water activities, so you may need to file, so.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking of the timing of it, because the 30 days is so that you can do some things, but also in that 30 days, if you wanted to get an extended period, you could file a notice of intent.
Yes, you can.
And,
Get more time.
And get more time, you know what I mean, and just, request, like, here's my plan to do work in March, and we could say, okay, we're gonna approve it, now whenever they wanna start, we could approve that.
Yeah, I strongly
Right,
encourage a
sometimes-
notice of intent for your own peace of
Yeah,
mind. It's
right.
good for 3 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although it costs with a filing fee and such, it protects you in the long run.
Yeah.
And you just subsequently call the office and say, I'm working under my order of conditions, and it's a little easier. So yes, so the stress of the 30 days, trying to coordinate people, this is where we're probably gonna run into a little conflict. So I'm not gonna be the Gestapo here, but I would like to be, part of the process as much as we can, so
Yeah.
that it can be controlled. We do get one skid steer on the, and they just, one woman called me today, do I need to get a permit? I said, no, not that if you think you can get to, I can get on the beach, and I'm not
Oh,
gonna
good.
say that, but I know approximately where she is after I hung up with her, and I'm like, wait a minute, she has like a windrow in the road, how can she get her trailer even on the lot? So, some people are not being realistic as well, because they are really financially hurt by the loss of the material, and I understand, but we did truthfully give them a leniency last year to,
Yep.
file.
To that point, economically, what you said, so the town that moved, we moved to get the road clear and move that material to the end of, basically at the beginning of Gooseberry. And moving that back, who does that fall under? Who
No,
would
they're
know?
not, the town is not moving any
There's no
material
way to move
back.
it. Yep.
The town is is distributing whatever material from this second storm is stockpiled in the road. That material is available.
There's a
They
lot of
wanted him to
material.
administer it to each lot, and Chris does not want to necessarily do that because he got into some conflicts with someone, claiming he got 3, I got 2, you got 4, I got 1, and it started to become a big issue.
So then, in that case, it's there for them to have private contractors bring it back.
That's
to
very
their
well
lots.
may how it will be. That they just push the material
That's the material.
right up and across the lots.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's,
we
I mean,
can't,
it's 12 feet high.
Yeah.
There's
well, and also
more
you
than
can't
enough
have,
material
you can't
there.
have a town department working on private property,
That is
That's-
also
Go
a
back
thing,
and forth and a
that's the
couple
other thing
feet
Chris
on it,
was
yeah.
concerned with,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
yeah.
Should be signing hold harmless agreements against the town for all this stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
it's a
right.
slippery slope, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
you
no,
know.
I mean, it's,
All right, so if you guys
Yeah.
could get me some comments,
Yeah.
if not, I'm gonna see what the chairman has to say. But I will take that sand cobble mix into this, into placement here,
Yeah.
and try to make sure it's very specific. I'm not saying that there are people aren't gonna push the envelope, but I just wanna be clear, so, everyone is.
Notice of intent is more methodical, it gives people a chance to get their stuff.
We meet every 2 weeks, so it's not on our end that is the difficulty.
Right, but-
It may be on my end because I'm gonna be inundated with 50 people
You know,
trying to
people are
have
gonna try to
me.
take advantage again and try to stretch
But the sample
things.
that I put on the webpage is, you just copy it, it's very simple.
Okay,
So,
okay.
it is available, that is helpful, and I am available, obviously, to go through the process, just where you mail things, to make sure you get it done correctly, so. With that said, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that you guys drive home safely.
Okay, anything else?
I got one question that's related to this that I'm interested in. The last boathouse on Boathouse Road nearest Charlton Wharf had a deck on the back between the boathouse and the road.
Yes.
The storm removed it and sent it up the road. And the deck was cut up so it could be brought back, and it now is a pile of lumber. What if that's put back exactly as it was? It's above mean high water. We do have a Chapter 91 license. I'm a part owner of that boathouse. And the deck is just put back as it was. What's involved in permitting?
I would say you go to the building department and move forward with that, and I don't feel you may be required to be in this situation with an emergency at this
Yeah.
time, because you're on the leeward side of the structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we could work with you on that, Bert, in a manner that gets, I think there may be other landowners. I didn't make it down Boathouse Road. I always wondered why they tied their floats up in front of their house, Bert. It took me a little while to know why they did that. Until I drove down there one day and the floats were floating across the road.
Yep.
They were up against the wall. I went, oh, that's why they tie them
Yeah,
off.
yeah, and a sunfish ended up across the road too. There was in somebody's parking lot. But I've been down Boathouse Road a couple of times. I don't see any damage except that deck.
Down that area,
was-
okay.
I don't, no, and even the road, not eroded really.
Really? Nice.
It's definitely flooded, but it didn't do any damage.
Well,
I can
that's
see.
good. All right, well, I can work with you on that, Bert.
I mean, I think we gotta work with, obviously, all the landowners until
Yeah.
a decision on East Beach is made by higher powers than ours.
Yes,
because
correct.
It's their property and,
Right.
they gotta do what they gotta do.
Right, well, that's why this
Yeah.
letter is
Yeah.
specific to all coastal property owners, because I think you'll find some individuals that, like I said, along the Drift Road section that may have had damage and we're not aware of.
Real quick on those telephone poles, if they went underground,
That's one thing I wanted to
Is-
add, is
yeah.
telephone poles may be allowed too.
is it more, in your opinion, aesthetically pleasing than functional?
To remove
Going-
the poles on the East Beach
And
or
going
the individual
underground?
lots?
No, just the telephone poles that are there, right? They want to remove all those and go underground utilities, correct?
That's what a statement was made by a selectman, yes.
But besides
I
in
think the
this,
thought of the underground is like coming down 88 under the bridge, not, you can't go underground at East Beach, right?
No, he was thinking of doing it there, but I think if the town wanted to do that, they should think at other means of,
But you're gonna dig 10
of
feet,
that
you're
source
gonna
of
have
power.
on whose
You're gonna
dime
have
is
water.
that?
That's an upgrade.
Yeah,
That's like an
thank
improvement.
thank you, it's an
Yes,
aesthetically, it's like, oh, we don't have to
yes,
look
you
at
can.
wires anymore on our beachfront property.
I swear to God, they do it all the time.
I
I'll
know.
show you every electrical line that's in the water table, and you go there and you're snaking lines through, and you almost need a snorkel and a mask.
Yeah,
So-
but isn't that all rock underneath there?
Well, we
You're gonna
don't know.
blast it
I
to
don't- I don't know.
Or
if
just
they-
lay an extension cord?
I
down?
don't even know if they could install underground utilities because of, that's why I'm saying, I think there's sections of East Beach that have a lot of ledge in them.
Yeah.
Because they seem to not move as much as others. So that may be partly why it is that case. So, in my opinion, if underground utilities become, the roadway is not as much as needed,
That's
in
what-
other words.
There's a,
So if the town wanted to go that route, they should look at other ways of getting power, of maybe
Yes.
under the Fontaine Bridge.
Yes.
And looking at the fact of not having this as a thoroughway or an emergency egress. If that what it comes down to, and that, again, that's above
Sounds expensive.
our decisions,
I've
but.
always heard
Sounds
that putting lines
expensive.
underground is a lot more expensive than putting it.
Thank you.
Correct, it is
Expensive.
extremely expensive, yes.
Where's that
Right.
money coming from? Is it?
It's easy installation, but you have the
Yeah.
conduit that's gotta be properly installed, sealed joints, and then you gotta have, interconnection boxes that have to be flood-proof. So each of these flood-proof boxes is just alone is a precast rubber structure
Yep.
that is costly. So Jake is not, corrosiveness of salt water, we all know, and the integrity of some of these things that are there obviously don't last long when salt water gets to them, so.
Well, it's like water pipes, usually, the town, whoever's doing it, will take it to your edge of your property, you have to pay for the
The rest,
interconnection,
Yes.
like natural gas too.
Yeah, exactly.
And so then that gets,
Who else wants underground utilities? If we're gonna do it at East Beach for
Yeah.
a bunch of
Yeah.
private homeowners, I think, Pine Hill Road.
The whole town may want
No, I
it.
don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The East Beach owners don't want it underground.
We got
because they know
$500
the
million
next step is
laying
taking
around.
their land.
Yes, well,
no.
I think if we do use that service, then there are not as much need. That, again, the power comes from Dartmouth to Bridge Street. That's where the power comes to Bridge and Cherry and Webb. It
Cherry
comes
Webb.
around.
It loops around, okay.
It loops
around.
around, and so there would be, cost-effective wise, if you could find the point straighter than that, I think you could find a more cost-effective way, so, but there are still landowners on the end of John Reed Road and et cetera that would need power, so
Gotta
you're
get it down one way.
still bringing it all the way to the beach. So that, again, that's all interconnection is not our concern at the moment. We're trying to make landowners,
It's like Cuddy Hunk put a big old diesel generator at the end of East Beach.
Diesel.
right,
It's like,
yeah.
it worked,
Block
Yeah.
Island,
so
same
you're
way.
saying a hydropower one?
Yeah, get a,
whatever. All
bunch
right,
of big fuel tanks on East Beach, is that what you're
Yeah,
talking about?
exactly.
okay. There's
Motion
nothing
to
else.
adjourn?
Looking for a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
It's a wrap.